So we're live. Here at the Ruiz Beast Podcast a little bit later than we are typically accustomed to, right? But nonetheless, we had been advertising that we would be interviewing. This is two interviews now with Sandy Sassano for City of Eagle Pass City Council. She's a candidate for place one. So we have her here tonight, guys. We're gonna ask her some questions, see if she wants to give us an update on how her campaign is going. So stay tuned. We're gonna have a good show for you guys. Let's bring her on. Hey, how's it going, Sandy?
It's going pretty well.
Awesome. So we introduced you a little bit. People know you were a returning guest of the podcast. You are running for City Council, Eagle Pass City Council Place One. You do have two other candidates that you are running against. Of course, the incumbent and another challenger as well. Now, what we really want to know, since the last time we spoke with you, um, how's it been going? Are you in full campaign mode? I know that on the 24th, which is, a couple of days from now,
Mhm.
early voting is going to start. So how do you feel about that? And what have you been doing since we last spoke with you?
I'm out. I'm doing a lot of door knocks and I'm talking to the people. And it's funny because, they all want to talk to you. They all want to talk to me. And so they asked me, and several people have asked me, what party are you running under? And so they don't even know. So I explained to them that it's bipartisan, which means that you don't represent a party, the Democrats or the Republicans. So basically, you're representing everybody in the community, everybody in the city. So they have a sense of relief, like, oh, thank God. So, which leads me to my next point on that also is, why do people feel like they can't be open about who they support or who they're going to vote for, they don't have to give any reasons. They vote for whoever they want for whatever reason. So I don't think that we as voters should give other people control over us as far as trying to steer us in the direction. I think that we need to vote for the person and the values. If they represent your values or the direction you want to see your city going into, then by all means, that's the person you need to go to. And so, with that being said, I'm getting a lot of positive feedback, and I'm out there. I'm talking to a lot of the people in the community. So we're working hard. I got a couple more signs up, and it's exciting because we're getting close to the last stretch here. So it's good.
No, absolutely. So you have what, about 8 days, about a week until the early
Right.
voting. Now, have you seen, I know you do register, you are authorized to register people to vote. Have you seen an uptick of people registering before this specific election?
Actually, I haven't had people reach out to me, although I have registered people for this election. So I'm excited about that. I feel I did my part, and I keep pushing it. When I'm doing these door knocks, I ask them if they're registered to vote, and if they're not, I would be happy to register them because I am certified to do that. So I'm happy to do it. And so we're definitely making headwaves. I've got more signs out there, and it's exciting, very exciting.
Awesome. I know when we first spoke, our first podcast with you, we didn't get too in depth, but I'm kind of curious myself, and I'm sure some of the viewers are. How do you feel going up against, an incumbent like Billy Davis, who has had a couple of stints on city council? So, of course, he's a figure that I guess is a name out there. That do you feel any indifference? Do you feel, how is it? What's the feeling going up against that for
You know
you?
what? I don't even give it any mind actually. He does have name recognition, but I feel that I bring a lot to the table. I have a lot of experience as far as the operations aspect of it, managing, there's a couple things, that I would like to mention while we're talking about that. I was driving down Veterans by Del Rio Boulevard, and just past Del Rio Boulevard, there's a little section of the street, it's a couple of blocks long, and they redid it. It's resurfaced and it looks great, but you
Mhm.
can tell it's unfinished. It hasn't been completed. It's not striped. It's been month, maybe two. So how difficult is it to have it completed? During the day, okay, you know where you're going, but what about at night? And what about people that can't see very well? Then they don't know if they're in the right lane. I mean, you could be avoiding an accident and it's no big deal. I mean, nothing's been done. Who follows up on that? Whose responsibility is it? Who's checking who, right? It's
Yeah.
the taxpayers' money. And so what are we doing? Who's who's on first? What's on second? I don't know who's on third. uh,
Well, no, you bring up a good point. That specific project about streets that you're talking about, and it hasn't been the only, project out there that everybody knows is, left incomplete. And, I'm referring specifically to the Misty Willow bid project where uh, city has to come in and handle a contractor's, mistake pretty much, or, or uncapable, his incapacity, his company to be able to complete the job. And you see, that's one of the things that as a councilwoman, you would be deciding on, do we go forward with this contract? Do we not? I guess a question that I would ask you, would it be alarming that a contractor coming in with a bid that's much lower, a couple $100,000 lower than everybody else, would that be a red flag for you as a councilwoman?
Absolutely. There's no reason why there's such discrepancy with the price difference when you're comparing at least three contractors. And if you have a line item bid, it should be very self-explanatory. And if it's that much under budget, it's a red flag. Who's going to benefit from that? And what are the repercussions? And who's going to be responsible when things go bad? Because, they'll cliche, you get what you pay for. So obviously, we got what we paid for, and it's not coming out of their pocket money; it's coming out of the taxpayers' money. And what about the people that live in that specific area? Are they going to get a tax break on their properties because of that? Because they don't have access to that? Probably not.
Yeah, more than likely they won't.
So they don't even get anything for all that. The other thing is that I've noticed, and that happened, since this whole project is going out there, there is a sewer cover that's in the middle of the street, and in it,
Mhm.
it has a big old hole in it. Okay. And I know that was brought up to their attention. And how expensive is that? $100, $200 to replace it? What happens when there's a kid running around and they're playing in the street and his foot gets caught in there and falls and hurts himself? What then? Something
Mhm.
so minor that could be avoided. That's a huge safety issue. It's a liability issue. Why aren't they keeping tabs on this? And it's not like they don't know, because they do. At one point, they had it painted out there like they were going to replace it. So what's going on with that? And then the other thing is, I mentioned to you before that I was at the ribbon cutting ceremony for the new fire station.
Okay, yes.
And I live not too far from there, so I'm constantly driving by there. And
Hmm.
it's not operational. So that's a red flag to me. So why isn't it operational? We paid all this money. We had an open ceremony, that we're going to be opening for business at that station, and it's not
Mhm.
operational. It's 2 weeks. We're going into 3 weeks. That's taxpayers' money. From my experience, that has to do something with the occupancy permit. So there's something wrong. Something's not up to par. Something needs to be done. Who's holding who accountable? What's the timeline? All these are little things that I talked about from the previous interview
Yeah.
that doing your due diligence. Had you done your due diligence, it would be operational. And I haven't even looked into it. This is just from driving by, obvious. I mean, I'm not the only one that notices it. I'm just the only one that's talking about it.
No, yeah. I mean, of course, everybody driving by is taking a look at these projects. They're seeing it.
Right.
My experience with it is that they typically do not want to report it. They don't want to say anything. They don't really want to cause waves. But if and I'll use this example. Whenever I was at Bib and Misty Willow, they waved me down and they told me, the story and the background. I'm not going to say, names, but there was residents in the area that were more than willing to share the story of,
Absolutely.
hey, this is what we're having to go through every day. Now, I know not many people see comments coming out whenever we post about these things coming out, but believe that there is people that their lives are being affected, and these projects, I mean, should have been done close to over a year ago.
Sure.
Was supposed to be a small project. Whenever we did a little bit of digging into that project, we come to find out that there was no performance bond on this project, which is something that is critical and key to hold the contractor accountable for incidents such as this, where they're not able to complete the job. So this is coming out straight from the taxpayers, back pocket,
Right.
more money that they did not expect to. Now, what a lot of people don't get, and I'm sure dealing with government, not everybody gets the chance to, but when you have a set budget, that budget is set. Yes, you can make amendments, but
Sure.
you're only approved a certain amount of money. So when things like that come up that are unexpected or run pricier than estimated, that money extra has to come out from somewhere else.
Right.
So it's not anything that like, oh, don't worry about it. No, it's that money is gonna have to get removed from one department, or a certain, it could be anything right under the government's purview, where they have a department, traffic control, police department, whatever it is. They're gonna have to eat that money.
Hmm.
You put a little bit more over here, that means you have a little bit less over there. And that's just what people don't realize about mismanaging government, is that it costs us. Every mistake costs the
Right.
taxpayers money.
Yeah. That
Now,
and that goes back to doing your homework, being prepared. You know, I can't imagine going to a meeting and not being prepared, not knowing, what is going on, and then you're just going to vote willy nilly like it's no big deal, and then there's consequences like this because nobody did their homework.
mhm,
So where's the accountability?
yeah, absolutely. Well, we've had a couple of other candidates on our show just recently. I don't know if you happen to catch on or have any interaction with candidates that you are running against.
Hmm.
Any comment that you'd like to bring up, or anything that you can give us a good story about the candidates, or what you thought from the interviews?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're doing a great job with these interviews, giving the candidates a platform to come out and you
Thank
know
you.
talk about what their vision is for the job. And I did see Ana Laura's interview, and she brought some very valid points, absolutely. And I think a lot of the things that she touched on are things that myself and Ruben Camarillo have been talking about, voicing, talking to the community about. And so I think that's great. And like I said at the beginning, the first interview, that, I want people to feel free to register to run for any office, not just city council, but, that's what we're here for. We're here to do the will of the people. If your heart is in the right place and, the vision is there, then go for it. There's no reason why. And as far as meeting anybody, I recently did meet Mr. Ricardo Lopez. He was at Copies to Go.
Okay.
I recognized him from his sign, and I went up to him and I introduced myself, and and I told him who I was, and we were having a nice conversation, and we went back and forth a little bit about my point of view and his point of view. And guess what? We're on the same page. So, we are seeing it. The candidates that I've been talking to, and Ana Laura, obviously, she's voicing the same thing. So if we see it, the people, our residents, our voters in Eagle Pass, it's plain as day. And as far as the other candidate that I'm running against, Mariano Flores, he's I think more of a ghost because there's nobody really knows anything about it. So, they play games like this, to kind of take votes away from the people that are actually running to maybe have a runoff, and that's pretty obvious. But I'm not worried about it because I think the message is pretty clear, the direction that I want to move the city in, and I want to be accountable, and I want to bring it to higher standards, and I want to raise the bar. Obviously, I'm bringing things that are being done already that are not being addressed, and it's like not a big deal. And it is a big deal because it's not our money, it's the citizens. And so the only people that I haven't actually heard a message from are Billy Davis, who obviously I'm running against, and Mr. Mario.
Mariana.
No, Mario Garcia.
Oh, okay. You're talking about everybody in general.
Their
Okay.
messages or whatever they're trying to communicate. I did notice that Billy Davis has a new logo for his sign, and he's got some bullet points of what he proposes. I think is his word, what he's proposing, but he's not actually talking to people. And like the interviews he has had, it's more of the city council position, not as a candidate, which is a big difference. So just because people see him out there doesn't mean that he's actually, trying to get the voters' attention with his message. So I'm not worried about it. Getting back to your question, I'm not worried about it.
Well, let me ask you this then. Do you get a sense, because from what I'm hearing from you, it kind of seems that he's being a little nonchalant about the race, right? Because I mean, at least I would picture somebody running or running for office. You would be out there, doing what you need to do to secure your, re-election in his case. But what I'm kind of gathering is that he's not really giving too much face time. Is that it?
Yeah, he's not.
Do you think that that is a plan, or that's like a direct strategy?
I'm sure because they're the only ones that aren't talking to the community. And, unfortunately, there's a history there in town as far as, how some of these candidates win their race. So, that could be the case. And the only way we can beat it is if we get people out to vote. We have to get the people out to vote. If we don't get the people out to vote, they're going to do their shenanigans. They're known to do that. Everybody knows it. That's nothing new. I'm not bringing anything that people don't know what's going on. So it is what it is, right?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think I've already gotten to the point, or not gotten to a point, but to an understanding that um, the shenanigans are not going to stop. And they're not going to stop until somebodies, because you can't do it alone,
Right.
start standing up for what is right. I mean, what I see, and I did also see the similarities in candidates, in the new candidates, some of the new candidates. Let me put it that way. That they do want to change. They do want something different, and you see. I'll just say the other side, for lack of a better word, but you see them touting, we're doing good right now, keep doing what we're doing. So there's two very varying waves, not necessarily that you guys are running together, or planning this out the way it's unfolding, but it does seem that you and I say you, the three that we have interviewed here, are advocates for the change that needs to be done. I did say this in the last podcast that we had Miss Ana Laura Herrera on here. I think a lot of us were maybe disillusioned a little bit a couple of years ago when we voted, two new members in, and things have been a little bit different, but I think that we've seen the politica, has a longer reach than some of us may have thought, right?
Right.
Um, and I'm just going to go ahead and ask this straight out: are we going to, if you're elected, are we going to see that from you? Are you just another, how do they say, the branch of the cherry trees? I mean, just
Yes,
trying to,
I get what you're
be
saying.
blunt about it, right?
Right. No, we're not going to change anything if we continue in the same direction. I'm not going to leave a future for my kids and my grandkids if we continue that. And we have to do it at the grassroots level. So we need to change it and set an example. And maybe the communities surrounding us will see the difference in the direction that we're going in. And so, no, you have to be accountable, and people hold me accountable. I want to be held accountable because I want to stay at that bar and I want to be able to raise it. And the next person coming in, there's a standard and we have to stay to that standard. We can't be flip flopping and, oh, es mi compadre y que le hace y déjalo y no me lo toques y déjalo. No, tampoco. Hay que seguir para adelante derechito. Derecho como una flecha, como dicen.
Okay, so elections right around the corner. I have to ask, what I see something in the background there.
Yeah.
I've been looking at it. I've been wanting to ask, but okay, you got me. What's going
So,
on here?
so
What do we have? What are we looking at here?
this is a sample ballot. Okay, this is a
Okay,
sample ballot. I'm working on something, but anyway, let me just tell you what I have here. So this is the sample ballot. On this side, you have your candidates. You have
okay,
Sassano at the top here. So you want to check the first one. Way to go. And then the last one here
okay.
is Ruben Camarillo. So all you really have to worry about is the top and the bottom. Okay. If you get
The
confused
top
what
and the
you're looking
bottom.
for, just go top and bottom and you're done. Okay. And
First one and the
the
last
first one
one.
and the last one.
Awesome.
Okay. Make it real simple. And so this on this side here, this is a proposition that the city wants to pass. And so like 2 months ago, they brought this.
A proposition.
Yes, a Proposition 1, it's called, and it is section 331B. Okay, and you can look it up under the charter. Okay, and
Okay.
basically it outlines the term of a city council member. So basically, you can have
Hmm.
2 consecutive 4-year terms, and that's it. Then you're out. Just like Ms. Yolanda, she's completing her second term, and so not
Mm-hmm.
able to continue as a city councilwoman. So that's why that position is open. So
At all,
at all,
right?
right? She can't.
Okay. He cannot
Can't be
go to another place or
it can't be consecutive. So
okay.
that's it. She can get out, and then maybe in a year or two, she may decide to run for, I don't know, mayor or something, right? So, and that's fine. That's the what it says currently. The change that they want to make is this part here that I have highlighted, and it says, and the position of the mayor is separate from the position of council members for purpose of determining consecutive term limits. So that was kind of like a red flag, like, what does it mean? What does it mean? So I did my homework, and the mayor currently falls under the same laws that city council members fall under. And that's my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. And so
Mm-hmm.
this means that if you have a member that has completed his or her uh, 2 consecutive terms, a total of 8 years, and they want to continue as mayor, then they can absolutely do it without having to wait, uh, be out of council. So they can run for an additional 4 years as mayor. So then that would make it what, 12 years? And if they want another term, because they'll be able to have another term, that would be another year, another term. And so this means that there's no limits. I mean, it says until they decide, until they make a determination. So it could be 5 years, 5 terms,
Well,
4 years.
yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking. It doesn't designate, you can only run this amount of terms. It doesn't pretty much they could be flip-flopping. Is that what I'm getting at here?
Yes, yes,
Because technically you would be able to run eight years as city council,
period. And that's it. You're done.
but you could jump up to mayor,
Mayor for an extra 4 years
do
or
another
beyond,
four.
because it doesn't define it. It doesn't say up to 2 terms or up to 3, up to 5. It could be, I don't know, 10 terms if they want. I mean, that's a lot.
So then a mayor could go back down to be a councilman.
It could be, because it's
It,
not
it,
very
it,
clear. So yeah, we need to look. You have to make your choice if you want somebody to be in there for an extensive 8 years. I think is a lot, but beyond 8, I don't know.
hmm.
It's something you need. You
Well,
need to. I personally, Sandy Sassano is going to vote no. That's what I'm going to do. But you guys do whatever you want.
well, I mean, I'm a big believer of not really, telling people how to vote,
Right.
which you didn't, right? But I do want to discuss this a little bit further. Now, is it just me, or is it the timing on this is very, very, I don't know, weird to say. I mean,
I don't
because
know.
you
I
have,
don't know what you mean by that. Weird.
well, you have, let's see, you have a councilman that is doing his second 4-year term now, right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
So now they're actually saying it is okay to jump to mayor.
Yeah, that
When
makes. You're
before,
right.
where before there was it was iffy, right? Because Luis Fuentes had to actually go and legally do something, with an attorneys to be able to run for mayor his this past term that where he lost to Orlando Salinas, if I'm not mistaken on that. I mean, I know there was a legal thing going on, and it had to do with the
Okay.
term limits and how they were written.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm thinking this is supposed to be a remedy for it. But I mean, to me, 8 years should be enough whether you serve in a capacity as a city council member or a mayor.
I think so.
Now, a person can literally have over 16 years
That's
in
basically
there.
open. Yes.
Wow.
It's kind of scary if you think about it. And my point is that Billy Davis talked about it at a meeting, at a city council meeting like 2 months ago. And it's, I mean, you guys can look it up for the city council meetings. And they talked about this proposition. And Billy said it was just to clarify, clean up the language to make it more transparent.
Mhm.
But when I did my homework and I looked into this, that wasn't really the case. The case was they added this section, the exclusion of the mayor. So they were trying to mislead us from the meeting. It's just kind of weird.
So you're saying who said that it was to clean up and make it more transparent?
Billy Davis, and it's on the you can pull up
The
the
minutes in the video on Facebook.
yeah,
Yeah. So you have him saying your opponent
right,
saying
because
that they
he actually made a point to clarify it. He said, I just want to clear that point. This proposition is just to make it more transparent, the language, because the language wasn't transparent. That's what I took from it. So when I saw this, I thought, wait a minute, why did he mention it back then? Let me look into it. And I did. I looked into it and I thought, wait, this is not what this is saying. This is different. They're adding this section, the the mayor is separate from the position of council members for the purpose of determining consecutive term limits. And maybe I'm
absolutely
wrong. And
no. I think you are absolutely right, because as the ordinance stands, and like I was stating, that's the reason why you had former Mayor Luis C. Fuentes
okay,
having to go through a legal situation, to get attorneys, and make that expense. And we know that expense was made because we do have his personal finance campaign information from that election where attorneys were paid that money. So that was done, and that was done to clarify the language, or to, I guess, kind of vague it, blur it up, what attorneys are good at doing.
mhm,
So it allowed him to run. Ultimately he did, he got stomped, but now you have this coming up.
right.
To me, I think this is gonna allow any of the councilmen now to be able to move from mayor to council
Just like
without having to go through the legal situation that Luis C. Fuentes had to.
I
Now,
think what bothers
now,
me the most is that if this does pass, and I can't imagine people would jump to vote on it, but anyway, if it does pass and they don't realize what they were voting for, when it does happen, people are going to be in an uproar. They're going to say, how did this happen? And why weren't we informed? Well, they did inform, but it was very vague and it wasn't very clear. And so, yeah, that just kind of bothers me.
well, I mean, that's the straight out of the game plan of, the good guys versus the bad guys. They want to tell you exactly, hey, we're doing this, but when you read it in the print, it's not exactly what they're telling you that they're going to
Right.
do. And that's upsetting. Not just here locally, of course, it does happen, in other areas. Now, I think the biggest concern, in the community, especially with this, is having somebody there that is not being beneficial for the community or is not doing very much. I know I've been very vocal with, the city council, having worked there as long as I did. A piece of me is still kind of stuck there, but it's upsetting when you see the types of things that are happening. Realize it's been the same group up there for the majority of years, and things continue to happen. I think one of the campaign managers for one of the candidates I see him a lot more than the candidate that he's supporting, but they're always trying to say that they're doing right now. And I'll give it to them. There is some stuff here and there that, are getting realized right now. But what a lot of people don't understand is that the stuff that's coming out now was cooking in the pot 10 years ago. It was planning back then. Yeah,
Right.
even before then that some of this city council that's in here right now. I will, tip my hat off to Ramsey English Cantu, that was a mayor for quite some time, 10 years, and he was able to do a lot of the stuff that they're, leaving behind right now. But one thing that caught my eye whenever you spoke about your opponent, Billy Davis, last podcast, was that he mentions, we a lot.
Yeah. That
We.
we
And I'm wondering if that yellow, amendment out there that you got on the wall, if that was a we type of thing. And if it is a we type of thing, putting that out there, how long do these people want to stay as city council, men, women, persons, mayors? How long do they want to stay there? It seems that
So it's a little bit of a red flag. I mean, everybody should definitely do their homework. And I think it's really important, and I've said it before, and I know Ruben has mentioned it very often, is we need to get to these meetings. We need to hear what they have to say, and we have to hold people accountable. Just like I want people to, I'm going to try to do the things according to the right way of doing it, and I'm not perfect, and I'm going to make mistakes, because everything, any job you start, you may have experience in one thing, but it's a new job and they have different ways of doing it, so there's always a learning curve, and I get it. That's fine. But then there's a point where, okay, now and let's fix it, and let's stay on track, and you have to be accountable for it. And just like at a job, because I always refer to this as a job, I'm actually applying for a job as city council with the community. So that's my job. This is my interview. I'm applying for a job. And so, even when you get hired, you have 90 days, you have to make sure that you're there on time, and you don't abuse the lunch breaks and the time that you leave and the days off, and you're not coming in late. All this is going to count against you, when the 90 days are up. It's like, yeah, you know what? Obviously, it's not going to work. It's better you go your own way. Well, the same thing here. When your term is up, if you're not up to par, just because you did it and you're in it now doesn't mean you're going to stay. So wake up and smell the coffee and get it done. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, and it makes total sense. And I think a lot also, I mean, I don't want to be too heavily critical of the current city council, but I think that everybody can agree is that, they don't want to answer questions about what they're doing or why they did something. It's more of a let's just go ahead and do it and hope no one says anything, does anything, or brings anything up. One thing that I am proud to say that my city council did was approved to go out for a new legal counsel, at least to accept some applications, some
Awesome.
proposals for legal counsel. So that's something that I think is critical to the growth and the restructuring that the city looks in dire need of. I personally knew for a very long time the acting city manager right now, Ivan Murua, and he's a good guy, and he wants things to be done a certain way, and he expects a lot of his employees. And I remember when I worked for him, he was one of those guys that lets you do what you need to do, and
To
it was
get the
much
job done.
appreciated. Oh yeah, absolutely. And as a director, I think that anybody that's held a director position can ask for anything more from their boss than freedom to do what you do best, right?
Right. Because it's not about micromanaging people's day-to-day operation. It's just keeping an eye out. Okay, they met this criteria. They moved on to the next thing on the project. This has been completed. You know, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Let's move forward. Job completed. Move on to the next. You know, but there's got to be a check and balances. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. One question that just popped into mind. I'm not sure if you were aware of the situation, and I'll go to bring it up a little bit. Fiery question, I guess, for some people. I believe it was not last year, the year before, 2022. The city of Eagle Pass decided to authorize, and we don't know through what request, of putting an LGBT flag out in front of the city of Eagle Pass, flagpole. Something that I believe had never been done. Usually it's your United States, your Texas flag, city of Eagle Pass flag. And they flew that flag, and there was a lot of controversy
Mhm.
just on that subject. And shortly after, we did have, I believe, what is a conservative group come forward, a religious group,
Mhm.
and they were also allowed to fly a Christianity flag, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
actually, I was there for that particular ceremony for the raising of the flag, of the Christian flag. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So you know exactly what I'm
Mhm.
talking about then. Um, I know it's a little bit of a iffy kind of questionable. People feel uncomfortable talking about this sometimes, but what's your take on the situation? And do you think that it was handled the way it should have been handled, or any constructive criticism
Okay,
on
I
those
think
decisions?
that something like that, it is very touchy. But I think that before you make a decision, put it out, have the people, the citizens, make their voice heard. Put a survey. You don't have to constantly be putting a proposition on a ballot. There's so many ways to run a survey, and everybody can either vote yes or no, and then you just go with the majority. How long was that flag flying for?
Was it just one day, or was it?
Well, I know the Christian one was maybe 2 or 3 days. It wasn't very long. And so I
Yes,
think that
I don't imagine that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think that from what I remember, there was a longer time for that flag to be flying opposed to the
Okay.
Christian. But I could be wrong. But I think that's what I heard, and that's what really bothered a lot of people because the Christian
Mm.
flag had to come down right away, but the other flag could remain up longer. So that I did hear a lot of rumbling about.
Yeah, and again, I appreciate you talking about it, because a lot of people would, rather not say anything, right? And I bring that to light just because I do know that that is an issue coming up, not just here locally, but it is an issue that is being made into an issue nationwide. People want to know, where people stand and what have you on that type of situation. Moving forward, with the aggressiveness that we've seen the city of Eagle Pass push forward towards athletics, sports, with the new complex we have, and it's great. I love to see that. Is there anything else that you would like to include with that push for recreation? Is there any type of project or type of
You
thing you have in your?
in Illinois, in the suburbs, I used to live in the suburbs. We had a YMCA, and the YMCA was amazing because typically it's very cold over there most of the year. It starts in September, late September, it starts getting cold, and it goes up
Mhm.
until May. So that's basically most of your time there. But they had everything was indoors. They had swimming pools indoors. They had the basketball court. They had the track. They had party rooms, they had meeting rooms. So they brought a lot to the table. So you can bring your whole family, you can have activities. And so, yeah, we definitely need that. This here, Eagle Pass, is opposite of Illinois as far as temperature. It's mainly hot here from like from I don't know, it starts anytime between February and, it can go all the way up to October. So, it's a pretty large range. And so I drive by some of these parks and I see some of these playgrounds, and not all of them have shades, and who wants to be out in the sun, when it's 110, 112, and, you can get a heat stroke. And, that's great. We have a swimming pool by the high school with a splash pad, and that's great. But you have people that live over here by Del Rio Boulevard in some of the homes, the city homes, and I've seen their slides, their concrete metal slides. And so somebody can really get hurt on that. I mean, they can get hurt on anything, right? But that's kind of, there's no shade. So we need to do things in every direction, not just like in certain facilities, because you have people that don't have transportation. And what are we going to do with transportation? Now we've got the college, the four-year college, and they're going to be dorms, which is great because that means it's going to bring more business to the community. You're going to have a lot of the other cities, other towns, they're going to be sending their kids to this college. And, what are you going to offer those kids? There's bike rentals you can offer. I mean, there's so much you can do. What are we going to do? What's the plan? I mean, you haven't heard anything about that. What about transportation? The college is pretty far out from where everybody else is. And what kind of food do they have? Okay, they have, I'm guessing that they're going to have cafeteria and things like that. But what if you don't want a cafeteria? What if you don't have a car? What are you going to do? You're going to rely on somebody to take you. And what if you don't get a ride back? Now you have to walk all the way this way. There's a lot that can be done and needs to be done.
Well, I know as far as I guess you can consider it transportation, they were talking not too long ago about contracting with those scooters, motorized scooters company.
Definitely.
And it was funny. I mean, I thought that was funny that they are responsible, the company of the scooters, for so many lawsuits. So that wouldn't be the best choice.
No, but you can rent regular bikes, pedaling bikes, just regular bikes, have them available because, they may not be able to have their own bikes. They may not have room in their dorm for a bike, or, it might not fit in an elevator. I'm guessing it's going to be a couple of stories. It might not fit, So there's got to be places that they can move around. There's got to be something.
I know a couple of years back, we had some renderings from, I believe it was UTSA, if I'm not mistaken, and they had give us a rendering for a potential college in the downtown area. And, well, that's kind of the old school way of thinking that, housing downtown areas, everything within a walking distance, you can go to the grocery store, you can go to the entertainment, you can, the district area and stuff. And that was just a rendering, right? So this was, I'm talking about a good maybe 10 years ago or so that was developed. It wasn't brought to fruition or anything, but the downtown area has always been a certain focus, right? Now, the college coming in is going to be outside, which of course, I believe it's the right move. That way the city can grow towards the campus. But I believe it's going to create all sorts of type of opportunities for industry, including the one you're mentioning as far as transportation, because Eagle Pass has little to none transportation available, public transportation available for people that do not have vehicles. So yeah, I mean, I could totally see that. And my concern moving forward is that I think that they're doing a job and going out there getting doing what they need to do to the town. Is there was enough planning and infrastructure built beforehand to get everything, before the university? Rather, they're going to have to have the university kind of get built first and then have, everything else grow around it. So, again, that could be just an opportunity for anybody else to fill in the gaps of what is needed by the students and the faculty there. But let's say you do get elected for city council, 5 to 10 years from now, what would you like to see?
I would like to see a better developed area growing out of the city. I think I mentioned before, why not have more than one large grocery store? Because we have casino groceries here and there. That's great because it's convenient in those areas. But why not have another large, excuse me, a large grocery store over here by the college campus? The grocery store that used to be by my house, it had a Starbucks and it had like a little living room with a fireplace, and the moms would drop off the kids at the school and go and have their coffee and have a nice place to hang out. Why can't we have something like that for them here? These college students. So I think we need to develop the outskirts more. I think that would be great. Plus the restaurants. I mean, talk about wanting fast food restaurants. That would be ideal for them because it's fast and convenient and less expensive for the students. So I think that would be ideal and that would work for them to have convenience like that because not everybody has transportation.
Now, do you think that having the four-year university here will help us retain students? Or do you feel that, because several people that we have interviewed in the past, had a podcast with it and everything, feel that the community is somewhat kind of a closed circle. And that's why a lot of the youth of our youth leaves studies and just doesn't come back because
Right.
there's no availability here. Do you think that is going to have any effect moving forward with this university college moving in?
When you have qualified people to do these other jobs, that 4-year degree students bring to the table, you should have that type of industry that will definitely offer that to the students so they can stay. People currently have a 2-year degree from Southwest and they can't find a job here. So what does that mean? They have to go to San Antonio or Austin or Houston or somewhere else. And guess what? It's expensive because they're not living with mom and dad is paying the rent or the mortgage or whatever they're paying. Now they have to figure it out on their own. And, when you're first starting out, you have a rough time. It's not easy in the big bad world out there. It's tough. And I'm telling you from personal experience, there's, you go without a lot, and that's just part of the journey. But if you can offer that to your kids, especially now, just work on your experience. You got your degree, now try to get your experience so that when you're ready to go, you got your money in the bank and you got your experience. Okay, now go conquer the world. Now you're ready. Now you can move forward if you want to. But give them the opportunity. And they may not want to go to a big city. Maybe they just want to stay here and just stay focused on their career path. And that's absolutely okay. That's what we have to offer. That's what we need to offer.
Awesome. Check it out. We actually have some coming in.
Okay.
We got a question from Ruben J. Camarillo. Couple of questions for Sandy. Should our businesses in town be open to while they support as candidates, be open to who they support as candidates, or should they all just stay neutral to avoid political bullies? What would you do to stop? Sorry, I have to take it off to read all of it. What would you do to stop the animosity against individuals and businesses that wish to support a candidate of their choosing? And what would your personal message to the business be?
My personal point of view is probably a little bit different than the average because I'll call it out the way it is. And, if I feel that they're trying to intimidate me because of my personal values or my party that I support, I'm a person and I treat people with the same type of respect that I want to be treated, regardless of whatever party. And that should go for the business as well. If you want to do business at that particular establishment, that's your choice. But don't threaten those people, that business owner, because they're not going to vote like you. We're not, as far as I know, this is the United States, and we have freedom here, and we have the right to choose who we want to represent us. And if they don't represent us, okay, what's that saying? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Shame on me. And that's how I feel. I respect you, you respect me. Whatever you do and whatever you believe, that's your business. But don't impose what I want, what you want on me, because it's not going to fly. That's why we live in a free country.
Now, I have to ask the question, is that coming from an experience you've had, or is just...
Yeah, actually, which doesn't have anything to do with politics at all. There was a family member that married another family member, and they were a little bit older, quite a bit older, and the person that was marrying into the family came up to me and says, well, now I'm XYZ. Now you have to respect me because blah, blah, blah. And that's what I told him. I said, no, I don't operate that way. You treat me with respect and I will treat you with respect. You demand respect, I don't need you. And that's how I feel. Treat me with respect and I will treat you with respect. I don't care who you are. I will treat you with respect because that's who I am. But don't demand anything from me because it's not going to work. It's never.
Well, see, that's the golden rule, right? That everybody gets taught by their moms is treat others the way you want to be treated.
Right.
Golden rule number 1.
That's right. It works, actually. It works. Because if people demand that from you, you don't need them in your life. Hit the road, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and then you bring that into the politics scene. Absolutely. You want to talk to me? You want to do business with me? Fantastic. If you don't, it's not my loss. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. And I think we need to stop having people have that control over us because they don't control us. So once they learn that they're not going to be able to control you anymore, guess what? They're going to stop. And I know there's a lot of shenanigans going on, but believe me, I'm not going to let it out of the bag, but good stuff is coming. Okay. That's all I can say. And I say it with a huge smile on my face. Yep.
Awesome. Now, I think for the longest time here, UPass has operated under a Democratic party, right? Or one party. Let's put it that way. Let's not even name what party, just by one party. And recently you've seen, the uprising of another party. And I think that it's not only because of the values, how do I say it? It's kind of how everything is playing out from the other side. And I definitely I can resonate with what I'm saying is that you eventually get up one day, see what a party is doing, and realize that's not what I believe in anymore. And I think that it does happen, and I think it happens not only with political parties, but in general, as you go through life, you just get to a point where that's just not. I don't believe in that anymore. That's just not me. You know, all of us believed in Santa Claus at one point, and we grew out of that.
Right.
You know, we believed in the tooth fairy. We grew out of that. We believed that there was two parties. I'm already growing out of that one too.
It's the person. You have to really go for the person. If that person represents your values, then go for it. If it doesn't represent your values, then you know what? Then you move on.
Yeah, and I think
Don't,
that
don't feel like you have to represent them or you're selling out, because that's not the case. So if I was to break it down to something basic, so I'm going to vote for my compadre because I've known him all my life, but his values don't represent my values. But what about my kids? How is it going to affect my kids in 20, 30 years from now because I voted for him and the direction they're moving in isn't going to help my kid? So what am I going to do? I'm going to vote for my compadre, or I'm going to vote for somebody who's going to help my kid.
yep.
You know, I'm going to go for whoever's going to steer the country or steer the county or steer the city in the direction that it needs to go in. No nomás porque es el compadre y es el vecino del compadre. No, esos tipos ya se acabaron. Somos un pueblo más grande. You know, when I was growing up here in Eagle Pass, I used to live on Avenue A. When I was a kid, and then my parents had a house built in the Royal Ridge subdivision area. And I think there was maybe 5 houses on my block. Okay. Everything else was open land. Era puro monte. And
I remember those times in Royal Ridge before they built to the overpass and stuff.
Yeah. And, you know, they didn't even have a lot of the streets to veterans. So, you know, I think there was like 2 streets past my street. And so it's grown a lot. There's a lot of subdivisions, you know, and we used to know everybody, and you know, having fun was going to the Aztec Theater or going to the drive-in. That was super awesome. I mean, that was probably way before your time, but you know, those were fun days, you know. That was, you know, family night, and you know, we would go and have fun, and you'd put on the speaker in your car and, you know, watching the movies, and the kids are running outside, and it was super awesome. And we were having fun, you know. So Eagle Pass has grown so much that I don't really run into people I know at the grocery store like, you know, I used to back in the day. Or I used to go to Piedras. My mom would say, vayan a Piedras y tráigame XYZ. Sí, mami, ahorita venemos. Man, just to run the errands, we were so excited to get in the car and drive and go somewhere, you know. So things have changed a lot. Eagle Pass has grown. You know, I moved to Chicago. I'm married for 30 years, and most of my married life I lived in Illinois. But I would come every year, and every year I would come to visit my folks and all, and I would see how Eagle Pass was growing. You know, one year I came and, oh my gosh, we have a casino. Like, oh my God, a casino, Eagle Pass. And they had it was like a mobile home kind of area where they played the bingo and this and that. And now look at the casino we have now. I mean, there's no comparison from what we started to where it has developed. And what about all that business? You know, a lot of people that stay in those RVs, they're all retired people. You know, they've got their money in the bank and they're sitting pretty. If they're going from casino to casino, from state to state, what are we offering them? You know, we have one golf course. I think it's an 8-hole golf course. It's not even a 16th golf course. And you have a miniature golf course, which is, you know, I've been to it, nada que ver. I mean, it's not, you should see the golf courses. You know, my husband and I, when we go over there, we go to all these different golf courses. I don't think we've gone golfing here once. We went and we checked it out. I'm like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. It's not appealing, you know. Why can't we have
you should see that maintenance bill on that golf course.
I don't even want to look at it. But why not have a second golf course? You want lots of heels. It shades and bunkers, and why not? Why do you have to just have one? We've grown so much. It's like, why not? My
Absolutely,
my kids,
absolutely.
my oldest son went to it's kind of like, I guess, an Ivy League high school, and you know how they have you can graduate with a beautician license at the high school, or a CNA at the high
Mm,
school here,
mhm.
or a welder, or a mechanic or something along those lines. Well, his school was similar to that, except you can graduate from high school with a pilot license, and you can
Oh,
have all this stuff, and um, they just offered so much. Why can't we do that? What's
yeah.
limiting
One of the
us?
things that I noticed whenever I lived for some time in Del Rio is that they have an awesome program for career in technology.
Yeah.
For to prepare those people that, hey, maybe college is not your route, which there's billionaires that never went to college, right?
Yeah.
So it was very impressive the way they had what they had out there in Del Rio for the career and technology. They have their own campus for the career and technology to
You
to
know,
start their careers even before they graduate high school.
at the elementary level, for both my kids, they had Entrepreneur Day.
Oh
So the
wow!
school would give all the kids like $10 cash. You think $10 is not a lot, and it's not. But when you're talking about, several hundred kids, it adds up, right? So
Mhm.
they would give the kids $10, and they had like 2 weeks to work on a project, and then they had to sell whatever they made, and then all the parents and the neighbors would come and they would buy the stuff from
Wow.
the kids. So they would make their $10 back and give it back to the school, and then they would keep the profits. But they had to keep the receipts and know how much they cost and how much they spent and how much they made and how much they had to pay back. And so
Wow, that's
it's
impressive.
very basic. And some little kids, bought material, and they made little rag dolls. It's endless. Why
Mhm.
can't we have that here too?
Mhm.
That's in the school district area, but I'm just giving you an example of, the possibilities.
No, and I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, one of the things that they're, typically complaining about, parents and students, is let's say with the school district, the lunch.
Mhm.
Apparently something is still very wrong with the lunch, which to me is it's beyond me because I was fortunate when I was from third to about sixth grade. I got to go to elementaries out of town. So I lived in Groves, Texas for a while, and I also lived in Fort Worth. And let me tell you, it was nothing like the cafeterias here in elementary schools because over there they had vegetarian alternatives, salads for whoever wanted. If the kids, after everybody got their meals, they had a little dessert, a little ice cream pop, a little something like that. And then after that, I mean, after everybody got a plate, seconds, does anybody want a second serving? And oh man, that was like incredible to me. And it wasn't just chocolate milk, regular milk. They had alternatives. And
Yeah,
and I remember this memory from being young because
yeah,
it was such a
those
different,
are great
the
memories.
contrast on it, and it was
Yeah,
just, and I don't see that here yet. And
yeah,
that's
they
when,
have stuff like that.
yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
My kids, when they went to elementary school, they had ice cream social once a month. So the elementary kids, they would get together in the gym, and they would offer the kids ice cream. They would have to pay $1 for their ice cream, but then they had all kinds of games. They would play all kinds of games, and they had music, and some of the little kids would dance, and everything was so organized. And so that takes me, I know we're getting off topic here, but when you would go to the parent teacher conference,
Mhm.
You had to sign up for it when you registered the kids for school, and you had to be there on time. And if you were 5 minutes late, at the end of the line, the parents go to the end of the line, and everybody got 5 minutes, and every student's parent was there. And that doesn't happen here.
Yeah, unfortunately, no, it does
So we
not.
need to grow in every aspect, not just the city, but in every aspect. The community needs to move forward.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that it's a testament to how many people are starting to sign up for some of these positions
Mhm.
of, elected officials. People are more interested in running for these positions now more than ever. And that could only be a good thing.
Yeah,
Only good
absolutely.
things can come from that. We got one more quick question that came in last minute, again from Ruben. Um, if you were elected, what would you do to promote and maintain unity with your fellow council members?
Well, I think it goes back to the basics of respect and dialogue. I know that because it's a small town, you have little gossip here and little gossip there. But I think if you just face things face forward, head on, and then once you discuss it and it's over, you move on, because you can't hash it out, and you can't have resentment, because it's not about you, it's about moving forward for the community.
Mhm.
So that's how I would handle it. And I think that I'm the type of person that could work very well with all kinds of people. There's not too many people that I can't work with, and I call it out when I have to, and I don't have a problem calling it out. I prefer not to, but
Mhm.
if I have to, it's no problem.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great. I appreciate you accepting our invitation again, and we appreciate the information that you shared with us on that yellow sample ballot. We'll be sure to try and get people to know what's going on with that. I don't know if there's any last things that you would like to share that we may have not gone over.
Just go out and vote. It's going to make a big difference. If you guys don't go out to vote and they do their same shenanigans, it's going to be a vicious circle. We're never going to get anywhere, and we need to move forward. And your vote counts. And I'm asking for your vote. I want to work for the city to make a better city. I want a beautiful city. I want Eagle Pass to look awesome, amazing, not just clean, but beautiful. I want people to come to Eagle Pass and say, man, it's like a little paradise. And why shouldn't it be? So come out to vote. Please share it. And remember this here, okay? Remember about the proposition. Remember about the candidates. You want to pick the first one. You want to pick the last one. A lot of them bring a lot to the table. This is just, I just know him. I've had more conversations with him, so I know where his mind is. I know where his heart is. So I support him, and I'm here to serve. That's all.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. We appreciate your time. We
Yeah,
appreciate your time and everything. And I don't know, you up for another podcast right before
sure.
the what is it called? Sorry, just slipped my mind.
Are you voting?
The
Early.
early voting starts on the 24th, guys. Remember that. We'll have Miss Sassano here to I got it right. Here for us right before early voting starts. So you guys are going to want to tune in for that. Of course, we'll give you a heads up. And we want to thank Miss Sassano here, who's running for Eagle Pass City Council, place 3, guys.
One.
1. I always do that, don't I, with you?
That's
Let me
okay.
do
There's
that
only two places, so it's 1 and 3.
I always do that. And I think with
So
Ruben, I also call
I'm
it place
glad
1 too.
you brought that up, because I'm running for place 1 and I'm place 1. Okay.
Place 1 at the top, and then place 3 would be at the bottom. You're saying vote for the top candidate, vote for the bottom candidate.
That's
All
right.
right. Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you again before the early voting starts. And we
Great.
wish you nothing but luck.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank you for giving us, the candidates, myself and the rest of the candidates, the opportunity to reach out to the community, to learn a little bit about what we represent each individually. I think that's a great opportunity, and thank you for doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You have a wonderful night, and we'll be catching up soon.
Great.
Bye bye.
Bye. Vote.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. It's very important, especially when one of these candidates wants to reach out or is willing to have an interview. Not just any interview with any news media, but somebody like that is going to ask some questions. Maybe not be the most comfortable, maybe not be the easiest questions, but hey, if they can come out here, answer some question with us, have a good time. It's always good to get to know these candidates that want to run, that want to lead our city, want to lead our county, want to lead our state, want to lead our country. So that's what we try to do. Not everything we do, but we do like to have candidates out there. Again, the invitation is open to any candidate that is running for city council. If you are interested in sitting down with us for about an hour, getting an interview, getting some exposure, hosting some questions from our viewers. You saw we can get a pretty active on the comments there. Send us a message. We're open to anybody wanting to have an interview, especially these candidates. And we are still trying to see if we can get a debate, a discussion. We may be able to pull one off if some of the candidates are willing. So be looking out for that. We'll let you know with some time, and we'll try to get that done right before early voting happens. That way you are well informed before making the decision which candidate you would be voting for city council of the city of Eagle Pass. Guys, thank you for hanging out. We appreciate it. Enjoy your Sunday night. Monday morning's coming right around the corner. Hope you guys have a blessed week and have a wonderful rest tonight. That's all from me. Hope you enjoyed the show. This was the Ruiz Beast Podcast.